to put people in detention centers. He's not trying to deport them. It's like everything he's doing is fucked up. It's Hitler-like. It's very is. Like I don't see how everyone can't see it.
So, can I chime in on this? Because Kima and I are in completely different camps. First off, for those of you attacking it, he brings up some valid points, and we do have to contend with that in the conservative circles, the Republican circles. They are valid, and he's also not what you would call a libtard or a Democrat. Forget what political alignment he has, but it's not anywhere near what the Democrats are. Akima, see, that's where it goes right off the rips. You call him Hitler-esque, Hitler-like. Trump is not rounding up people. I mean, we have had presidents that rounded up people based on ethnicity and culture. It's FDR, one of the most celebrated presidents on the Democrat side. You know, the one that fundamentally changed the country's economic abilities, built an entire program of massive wealth redistribution, oversaw a lot of bullshit and policies, some good, some a lot bad, that turned out to be harmful and without any forethought. He made intern camps and locked up people for just being Asian. That's kind of the stance on it. We can go further back and look at other historical presidents, the Trail of Tears, the founding of the Democrat Party, Andrew Jackson. That was kind of bathed in blood. You can fast forward to today. Clinton, the policy that you despise so much, was actually cheered on, championed by Democrats, including St. Bill Clinton. He put it into plan right away. He wanted this power to rest with the president. Democrats afforded this policy. They did not want immigration. So when you do have Trump saying, hey, I'm building detention centers and I'm deporting people that are here illegally, okay, but that power was asked for and granted by not only Congress, but it was given to President Bill Clinton. And wielded it, Obama fucking wielded the shit out of it, and not the same smoke. But then you apply the label to Hitler to just Trump. And if your issue is that Trump's deporting people and he's sending ICE, well then you have to have smoke. Because even under Biden's term, even though he opened the floodgates in his last year, he was ramping up deportations. He was trying to show people to win an election that he was tough on the border because immigration was such a hot topic issue. He made fucking massive ways to try to show people he was tough on the border and was going and targeting people with ICE. And this hyperbole that you give that he's Hitler, and I don't know why you guys can't see it, then you literally have to say that we have been ran by Hitlers since the country's foundation. And I don't believe that. I don't think anybody believes that. I don't think anyone here is in comparison to Hitler or Pol Pot or Zing or any of the other horrific, or Stalin, any of these fucking characters in history. Trump is not murdering people. He is not fucking rounding up people and putting them in fucking camps to do labor work and fucking do that. He's deporting. And again, the incredulity of it. I mean, you would have the smoke for Pritzker, who put illegal immigrants and housed them for fucking 3 years in a warehouse in the shitty fucking district of Chicago, and who put thousands of people in there where they had asbestos and problems and mold and all of that shit and didn't bother to actually build a facility. But you don't have that smoke. So when you come out and say he's Hitler, what are conservatives looking at? Because all we see is that you are just talking bullshit at this point and hyperbole, and you have absolutely no understanding or credence to the matter you have. If you want to talk immigration, I think we should have the nuance. But just starting with Trump as Hitler, that wins you no more. And I'm with the Trump MAGA supporters, I'm with Republicans, and I'm with conservatives. I don't think that you should be privy to the conversation. And that's how I look at it. Anybody who starts with Trump as Hitler, I immediately dismiss.
Hey, bro. The problem with what you just did was, like, you narrowed everything I said down. I said he's attacking universities, he's attacking law firms. I gave a whole list of the things he's doing, and you narrowed down to immigration and try to give a parallel from other presidents, and ignoring all those other things. Like, if he was just doing the immigration thing, then of course he's not Hitler. But when you add the other things he's doing, going after the media, the judges, basically sidelining Congress. Let's be for real. And you say he's not rounding up people. He's about to. What do you think he getting $45 billion for detention centers for? Because he's going to round people up. It's not me making this up. It's him doing it. And then, like I said, everyone agreed that Project 2025 was a problem. Everybody say it's not his thing, but now he's doing it. Y'all don't want to address the fact that he's doing it. And everybody thought it was a problem, but now he's doing it. Now it's okay somehow.
So Project 2025, Trump had his own thing. It was Trump 45, or whatever, 47. He had his own agenda. He laid it out there. And Project 2025, if you actually read it, has some good ideas. Oddly enough, it's ideas that Democrats have cheered on. And as recently as 3 months ago, they've taken ideas. Even Fetterman has espoused similar ideas. He was getting ostracized by the left. You talked about universities. We're aware of prior presidents doing this and manipulating universities, utilizing funds, weaponizing funds for each of those. We could go through that list. And there's been a historic problem with colleges getting guaranteed funding for students so they can increase their tuition costs, their education costs, even though they're offering subpar education on many of these, quote, universities that everybody is so concerned with. You're not worried about the quality of education. You're more worried about the fact that Trump is calling them out. And he can say, hey, you're politically biased. You're giving these kids a one-sided education. You're not really preparing them for the real world. You're more or less imposing your ideals upon these young minds who need to go out into the United States and make it better. No. Instead of growing rocket scientists, doctors, lawyers, etc., we're growing political activists and Instagram models. And then we have to import people from other nations to actually fill the gaps in which we needed STEM and the fucking arts. Like we're having to import people to do this. So yes, there's criticism there. I could have gone down that list. What else did you say? The Project 2025. I think we covered that. That one's been put to bed. And there's plenty of foundations that exist around DC that have printed up pamphlets to say, here's what Democrats have. The Democrat playbook right now that's being orchestrated about gerrymandering. It is another example of like, every side has action-packed committees that are freaking putting forth pamphlets to go ahead and say, this is the plan we should have. Democrats had it with I'm with her campaign during Hillary's campaign. It's no different. And so, again, your articulation of the argument and not really getting down to the substance, it's just high level. I'm not coming at you a certain way. I'm just saying there's no room for you and I to have a discussion on the nuance of the policy because you immediately started with Hitler. He's rounding up people. He's giving funding for immigrant colleges are under attack. And what else was it? 2025. That's it. Those are the three arguments. None of that really provides any nuance. And you say he's Hitler.
How did I start with Hitler? When I got in the conversation, it was already about him compared to Hitler. I didn't start with Hitler. I just reinforced the argument. So don't say I started with Hitler, therefore we can't have a conversation. That's not where I started. I started with the conversation.
I can have a conversation with you. I came up. Do you believe that there is a problem that needs to be addressed and resolved within our universities in the policies within the universities and how best to correct it? Do you think that's a problem, or do you think the universities are doing it absolutely right and everybody should just leave them alone and let them do what they've been doing? Where do you stand on that?
I think in a free society, a capitalistic society, I think universities have the right to hire who they want to hire. Like if you think it should be more right-wing university professors, then they should go apply for the job. I mean, I'm kind of confused how the right feel like they want to dictate, regulate universities somehow. They're against regulation in any other form. They all about free markets, capitalism, all that, but now they want to tell a university what to do because they hired some professors who they disagree with. That's kind of crazy.
Okay, so I think what you just said is there's not a problem with the universities and we should just leave them alone and let them do what they've been doing. with no corrective action necessary, no criticism necessary. Just let the universities be the universities, right? And no,
That's the criticize. Nothing you can criticize. You can try to get more people hired there. You know what I'm saying? You can protest. You know what I'm saying? But to make it like it's a government issue and Trump should be intervening and talking about taking university endowments and crazy shit like that. No, that should not be going on at all.
So, Nancy, can I jump in this real quick? So that's where you're going to lose the argument because again, Trump's taking back federal taxpayer money because again, if a college is going to preach one way and force ideals onto a multiple mind, and only that way, and not really educate them for the world, not really provide anything of substance outside of underwater basket weaving degrees, then I don't want my tax dollars going to it. I think a whole plethora of people are like, nah, no, we're not going to fund this. And quite frankly, I think colleges have been funded too hard. They rely on endowments, they rely on grants, they rely on subsidies, they rely on state, county, and federal fucking money from taxpayers in order to exist. Meanwhile, they balloon their tuition to a massive increase for a decreased quality product, and then have teachers force students to buy books that, quite frankly, let's be honest, a lot of those books are substandard and biased in one way or another. They don't really articulate true history. They don't really articulate anything there. And they're not really like something that I think is going to benefit society. Because the professor had some collab or get some kickback or wrote the fucking book themselves. So now they get to charge the kid $1,000 for the books. So yeah, I can critique the system if you're taking tax dollars, federal tax dollars, and tax money to a university. It is no longer private. It is no longer an ability for people to say, hey, well, we shouldn't. And all Trump did was say, hey, I'm going to end your federal stipend from the government, and now you have to exist on your own. And now all of a sudden, it's a big deal. So if these colleges are so great, there's nothing to worry about. Why are they so dependent on me as a taxpayer when I don't agree with what they're teaching? They're not producing the best product. Why would I even fucking invest in that?
Hey, Brad, the point you just made, because you say because they got federal dollars and no longer private, that means nobody's private, because everybody's getting some federal dollars somehow. I mean, tell that to the banks and the auto companies. They're no longer private because they get bailed out by the taxpayers. Like, tell that to the farmers. Tell that to the poor people. You're no longer independent no more. You get welfare, so therefore the government owns you now. Like, come on, be for real. Be for real, bro.
Wait, is every student loan that's applied for backed by the U.S. government? Every student that goes to college and they apply for it. Do I, as a taxpayer, along with millions of others and everyone in this room, now on the hook to back that child? Again, it doesn't matter. Like at the end, I have a right then. My tax dollars are going to pay for colleges. They're guaranteeing the money. They're giving the money to the colleges. The kids end up in debt. They're backing the loans. Personally, I think in order to collapse the system, I wouldn't even send my kid to an Ivy League school. I wouldn't send my kid to one of these top tier schools because, quite frankly, the return value on it, most of these colleges, if you actually start researching, the return for money spent doesn't show up in a lot of these schools that are getting massive fucking program dollars and they're getting back. So, again, right here, if you want to make college completely free market where they have to compete with each other, then fine. I'm with you. You can have a left-leaning school. You can have a conservative school. You can have a Marxist school. Have whatever fucking school you want to. But the minute you start asking for taxpayer money in multiple ways, then all of a sudden I get to critique what's being spent with my money.
I want to say something complimentary, if I can. We went from Hakima was, for lack of everything, he had a long, high-level list of everything that Trump has done wrong and is doing wrong in Hakima's view. And I'm not accusing you of Trump derangement syndrome, but it sure echoed what we generally think of. But look what happened. We got off of this vague, high level, everything he's doing is wrong, and I just just heard a pretty good back and forth about education, where Hakima and Brad had a conversation about education. They disagree with each other, but at least we got down to something of substance rather than this high level arm waving, screaming and yelling about everything Trump does is deranged, wrong, etc. When we get down to the specifics, then we start to have a much better conversation rather than, Trump is whatever. So well done for having a good conversation coming off the high level argument that everything Trump does is wrong and blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a little bit of progress. And so thank you, Hakima and Brad, for doing that.
Aye, sir.
I certainly didn't mean to shut down the conversation in the room by giving two guys a well done for having a reasonable conversation.
The longer you talk about Trump derangement syndrome, the more deranged it will get. It's basically polarization, fixation, and duration. It's like creating a candle and the moths just go to the flame. And a lot of the content creators on this app will run TDS rooms for hours, weeks, months, years. It's what they personally get their dopamine from. It's my opinion. It's called TDS.
Well, if that's true and that's the way it works, then why wouldn't we create an awareness campaign and an acronym and bring attention and wave our arms to something that would matter? Something like the number 37 trillion, for example.
That's more accurately described as ADS. That's American derangement syndrome. So that's called ADS. But I like to call liberal, Democrat, socialist, populist. That's another acronym I came up with. Liberal, Democrat, socialist, populist. That's LDSP. LDSP, liberal, Democrat, socialist, populist. I'm describing words that I hear in politically correct. I have heard that term repeated over and over and over again. Liberal, Democrat, socialist, populist.
I would jump from that. That's also Latter-day Saints.
One of the things I'm loving about these rooms is how when we throw a poll up, how balanced they are. I think every poll that we've done, we found, whether it's three choices, they'll have equal representation typically on the three options. Here we have two options, and the vote is completely split. I think that this is proving to create a space, and the dialogue between Hakima and Brad is a good example of it, where people can be heard that completely disagree with each other, and so give everybody a pat on the back, because the Rational Discussion Group was formed out of the lack of this type of conversation, and so finally we've got a space where people can come together, where they have these disagreements, and they can talk about them as adults. And we leave the chat open so people can participate there as well. We would never ask people to download Facebook in order to participate in chat. Thank you.
I love your effort, Roger, with the debt. I think you need to keep it up. I think eventually it'll start resonating with people, but I don't think it's going to happen this term. But in terms of like the Trump language, I mean, right now we're in the midst of an optic culture war. That's the best I can see. There's a lot of people that want to stick to their side of the fence and think there's a better way forward. Maybe I disagree with it. I think Trump has authoritarian tendencies, and he will tap into those. But to be fair to the guy, he's utilizing powers that were given to him by Congress. So every time I hear something that is not liked, I have a case in history. I have an exact point, a very similar situation. And I mean, I think we should bring in people who have been in the Situation Room. I don't know if you guys know her. Maybe you can bring her back. But, across 3 administrations, these decisions are being made, but what I don't understand is that when these decisions were done under Biden or Obama or Bush or Clinton or Reagan, nobody has that same smoke. I don't think FDR is a great president. I would never think that. A, he ushered in the nuclear bomb age. B, he turned people. C, he was all for segregation. In fact, his opposition to the park system was to make sure that there were segregated facilities for whites and black people and other races. He wanted that. It was a Republican by the name of Hickey that said, "Go fuck yourself. You won't get another fucking dime if you don't approve the way we want to go ahead." Which is why you don't have segregation in the national park system. It never existed. So, FDR has never been somebody I looked at. He financially put us on an economic downward trend. He got lucky in the war, because the war, World War II, is actually what boosted our freaking economy and basically destroying half of the world so that they couldn't compete with us. If Democrats really want to go down this pathway of how Trump is destroying it, why not call out the shit that it's actually done? We've had a president drone strike an American citizen without due process. That has existed. Nobody talks about that shit. We just got through a pandemic where we interred elderly people in nursing home, saying, "Hey, here's a neat way to save Social Security. We'll just throw infected people in there with them." We've had that happen, and no accountability for that. And no one wants to talk about it. But it goes right to January 6th. I can promise you, everything will circle back to January 6th. That was the most pivotal moment in our country's history.
So wait, you don't think that the drone strike on that American Islamic jihadist trader was inappropriate?
100% against it. That American was not afforded due process of rights. That American citizen is a U.S. citizen. And I have an issue when we violate American citizens and we put other political ideals ahead of it. I'm pissed off that we are prioritizing illegal immigrants above situations that exist currently in this country with homelessness. As a start, how about fentanyl doses, overdoses? We're prioritizing everything else but our own people. Trump is right on this one, John. It should be America first. It should be Americans first. That's who it should be. I'm happy with all of you people in other nations. Hats off to you. Be proud of your nation. But I stand for the red, white, and blue with the 50 stars and the 13 stripes. And I love absolutely everything about this country, from the diverse people to the cultures to the land from coast to coast. And I have traveled a good chunk of this. And it is one of the most beautiful, diverse places you can find on the planet. And I'm telling you what, I am for this country succeeding for the next 10,000 years ahead of everybody else. And the rest of you, either hitch your wagons to the back or go your separate ways, and I wish you the best of luck. But I want my nation to succeed, and I want all my Americans to succeed.
Yeah, Brian, to that point, that's one thing about these TDS folks. It's really strange. When you say America first, they get triggered. They have, I couldn't quite wrap my head. Well, I've long understood the term bleeding heart liberal, but it truly made sense when I started seeing liberals crying and falling out over the immigration issue. And when we saw politicians just recently or judges being arrested for trying to harbor politicians in their home, getting arrested trying to infiltrate, ICE detention centers. You haven't seen liberal leaders go this hard for their own citizens, but they are crying and falling out over non-Americans, and they seem to have an issue with Americans putting America first. That needs to be a case study. I'm done.
Now the problem is Trump. What?
Wait, Hakeem, you broke up. What'd you say?
I said the problem is Trump say America first, but then his actions don't show America first. What he's doing is not putting America first. Like even when he bombed Iran, some people may agree with it, but that wasn't America first at all. So like it's like what he's doing is not America first. Like going after the media, the universities, the judges, like as if his opinion matters most. Like what he says goes. Like same thing like what's going on in DC now. He want to put the National Guard there because crime is out of control, but the numbers don't say that. But because he said so. That's that authoritarian in him, like because what he said. Even we talk about spending money. He's like, I gave this person that money. He act like this money is his money to give. Like he literally act like he's a fucking king or something. And he's not. But people are letting him get away with it. And he may well be very soon though.
But my thing is this though, and I'll say it quickly. We've already survived 4 years of Trump. So what? And this is not directed towards you, Hakima, but if you want to respond, you can. We've already survived 4 years of Trump, and literally we survived. America didn't fall, right? Trump's policies during his first term did not destroy America, did not destroy the economy, and it really, if I dare say, did not topsy-turvy the lives of the average American. So what do we think is going to be so different about this term? I mean, do we really think that by the time he leaves the White House, America will no longer exist? Because I don't. And for the record, I also don't think, because a lot of liberals, black liberals especially, are under this impression that according to Project 2025, he's going to come and round us all up and put us in detention centers and ship us off to Nigeria, et cetera, et cetera. I wish we could put to bed that talking point as well, because that's not going to happen.
How do you probably say what's not going to happen? I'm not saying that he said what you just said, but to say what's not going to happen, like it's crazy when he positioned himself to do a lot of shit. Like he's right in the position to take this a lot of different directions. So to say that what's not going to happen is like it's kind of tough on my ears to really say what's not going to happen, because like if he's nothing else, he's unpredictable, and if he has shown nothing else, he's shown that he's willing to push the Constitution to its limits.
I'll say this quickly, Hakima, and I feel very confident in my last point that Black Americans are not going to be rounded up and shipped out of the country or put in alligator Alcatraz. I feel confident in that. And if you feel like that is a possibility, then maybe we need to unpack that a little bit more separately in another room, because I'm curious to know your position on that. Thank you.
I didn't say that was particularly going to happen, shipped out the country like that, but he's definitely making a play to round up Black people. Like he said it, and not in Project 2025, but Agenda 47. He said it. He talked about rounding up the gang members. I know who you are. We're going to come round you up. He literally said it out of his own mouth. But so to say what he did, not the deportation part, but rounding them up. With no particular crime, but he definitely said it.
We've got, as I look at the stage, I only see Hakima and XG, who have very, very strong, almost universal negative opinions of Trump. And I'm still going to ask this question to the room. Name one thing for any progressives. Name one thing that you think Trump has done right in the last 6 months.
Education.
Okay, how about XG or Hakima? Hakima, can you pick anything, any single thing?
Give me 1 second. You like I'm in the head.
So you said one good thing Trump's done?
Yeah. Say it positive. I mean, try to be positive. Yeah, Trump got this one right. Can you suggest one thing, XG?
I'd have to think for a minute.
Okay, I'm not a progressive. I thought thought it was absolutely great when he strategically got those bombs in a big jet and didn't even set off the alarms and hit that
Michael
nuclear site. I mean, what a big move.
Why don't you come back on Black Friday? I said, do I have to be black to get the discount? He jolted on the
Serious,
spot.
and he's not playing.
Visited my face to see if I was
Those
serious.
people have got an A game that they
I am
I
serious.
liked that.
He says, you've never shopped on
And,
Black Friday, have you? I said, no. I don't want to get robbed.
It was something he did, like
Why aren't you calling?
Closing the border.
What the
I
fuck?
applaud him for it. I'm perfectly fine with him stopping people
Typical
from coming on the border.
typical Karen story.
I have no problem. I haven't, but like besides that, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, but I really want to hear somebody say that was wrong as well, but I haven't heard that yet. You want to put anything out there, XG?
I don't mind them building the wall. I'll be fine with that. Okay, thank you.
What'd you say, XG?
Yeah, I said I can't think of anything. Won't lie to you.
So you would then agree with the statement that there is not a single thing that Trump has done in the last 6 months that you agree with, right?
Not really.
Okay.
At least that I know of or I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Wait, this is going to be tongue-in-cheek, XG, but not even when it's expansive into the market system to kind of control it. There's a little tongue-in-cheek in there. You got to be happy with that.
No, the only reason I would say no is because, while I get what you're trying to get at there, he's doing it for the benefit of other large corporations too. So it doesn't really help out what I want to attack on that up front. But yeah, I wouldn't agree with that either. I mean, if you're going to have all those monopolies compete, just let them compete. All those businesses that are practically monopolies at this point, just let them compete.
Well, I'm going to reverse my question for all you conservatives in the room. Name one thing that you really agree with that Biden did in the last 4 years.
I agree with the expansion of the national park system. I agree with setting aside things. I did not agree with the Willow Project, but I was happily assuming with the 13 million acres that Biden had proposed to set aside. I was really happy with his Secretary of the Interior, the first Native American woman put on, and her first action was to challenge the water distribution among 7 states out of the Colorado River, with LA and California taking the highest proportions of that. I agreed with her fundamental stance. And
Okay, that's more than one, but
okay.
We've got one conservative that says Biden did something right. In fact, a whole list of things. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think what he did right was step aside, pave the way for that lunatic Kamala Harris, so that Trump was guaranteed to win office. Thank you.
I thought his infrastructure deal was pretty good.
I agree with that. I like the idea of the infrastructure bill. I just did not like that particular infrastructure bill and how it is going to work and how the funding mechanisms in there, there's no checks and balances. It's just basically giving out free money without any accountability through a lot of projects.
Okay, Joe B., Scarlett, David, anything Biden did that you think was right?
No.
I did like the Build Back Better bill. I agree with Brad, the implementation of some of it. I mean, trying to promote some green energy. I think we're so far behind in solar from China. We're so far behind in many things. And we need to help support that. I think giving some money to the states and the way it was politically spent, that was a bad idea. So obviously, lots of times with the Biden administration, there are strings attached. I agree, and political strings that need to be attached to his money, and that hurts the progress. I liked when he tried to to do with the Middle East in the beginning. He did show support for Israel. I think we do a lot of things that show support, but also hamstring some of our partners, and that's true in Ukraine, and was true in his support for Israel. But he did some politically strong things there.
I would add to the list that I think Biden was making the right moves to try to establish American supremacy in super chip production, AI, etc. I think he was heading in the right direction, and I believe we're continuing in that direction with Trump.
I'm glad he kept some tariffs on. I mean, he kept Trump's tariffs on certain Chinese products that could be dumped here. That I mean, whether we like it or not,
we expect a declaration of independence. 8 of the 13 colonies have levied money in support of the Continental Army. I asked that South Carolina unite. Massachusetts and Virginia may be at war, but South Carolina is not. This is not a war for the independence of 1 or 2 colonies. But for the independence of 1 nation. And what nation is that? An American nation. There is no such nation, and to speak of one is treason. We are citizens of an American nation, and our rights are being threatened by a tyrant 3,000 miles away. Would you tell me, please, Mr. Howard, why should I trade 1 tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away?
Last 6 months, the fact that you put it in such a small window that they get 4 years of Biden to advise, we get 6 months of Trump to advise, we can't find something you like, but they actually like. I don't think that's proof of non-BDS. It's just proof. Congratulations, you had 3.5 years.
he did some politically strong things there.
So can we go back to the first 4 years then, actually, of Trump? Do you want to do a comparison of the first 4 years?
Yeah, I would say that TCJA wasn't a bad idea. He just had no incentivization for businesses to actually reinvest into their business and their employees rather than just doing stock buybacks and laying people off, which is what happened. Had that actually been an incentive, like there's a lot of ideas that he's had that have been good ideas, but the way he implements them never has an incentive for said idea to happen. Like, for example, opportunity zones, those were quote unquote great, but there was no incentive to invest in there at all. In fact, the opportunity zones, and they ended up getting gentrified, and now we're all shit. The opportunity zones don't exist anymore. They're all trash. Like, for example, there's a lot of those ideas that I probably would have been in favor of, absolutely. But the way that it's implemented, there's never a, I guess, stipulation in there to get the bill or its news implementation of the law to get to fruition of what he actually wants. TCJA ends up fucking over the middle class a lot more than we thought it was going to help us. And it still helps the richer 1% to get to where they want to be. And it would have been something I was in favor of had it not incentivized the richer to keep dousing their pockets and doing stock buybacks, and had it incentivized people to actually hire more people or to create more jobs, which is what it was supposed to do, quote unquote. But we saw JP Morgan Chase, we saw Harley Davidson, and a string of other people just do a fuck ton of layoffs and do stock buybacks instead. So there's policies that I would have agreed with if implemented correctly with the correct incentives for it to do what it wanted to do. But unfortunately, a lot of the implementation leads out to just the rich getting richer, which is something that I don't like.
Would you rather he devise policies that prevent rich people from getting richer? Is that what you're implying?
No, what I'm implying is that I'd rather him focus on the majority of America, which is the middle class, and not just his cronies and friends that are in the 1%.
Okay, so maneuver or craft laws that specifically target certain pay bands or pay ranges or income or wealth ranges at the expense of the other two.
It doesn't have to be at their expense. It doesn't have to be at their expense first. And second, it's even more hilarious that you say that because the middle class has been at the expense of the wealthy the entire time. So I don't really find it as a talking point.
So what I'm saying is if he's designing strategies and tax laws and carve-outs and provisions and benefit programs and things like that, and they're narrowly or exclusively offered or targeted towards, let's say, the middle class, whatever wealth or income you want to list, then by definition that comes at the expense of the other two groups because they are excluded from that. So, is that your goal?
Does it come at my cost, the fact that I'm not able to get free lunch at school because I make more than enough to pay for my own food? No. It just helps the person that can't afford their lunch at school. It's not that difficult to understand. Like, just because some people are getting a
I understand. I just want you to be clear and consistent that if you're saying only the middle class can benefit with his tax policies or other provisions, laws, then by definition that excludes and comes at the expense of the other two groups.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're going to put out a tax law to benefit people, don't have it just benefit the rich, because at the moment we have it at the exclusion of the middle class, fucking them over while we have the rich getting richer. So again, my main point is if you're going to put a tax law to benefit people or to incentivize people to do X, Y, and Z, have it be targeted towards the middle class majority, because that's the majority of what our population is made of. Not people that are loaded with millions of dollars in their pocket. It's people that have maybe 100,000 or less inside of their pocket, which is the majority of what America's at right now. So unfortunately, when it comes to tax policy or how I want things to go on there, sure, have the benefits for the upper class. I have no problem with that. Just make sure the middle class are getting equal or the same benefits, and don't screw them over in the process to get the upper class those benefits.
Okay, so you're not against wealthy people getting richer. You just don't want it to come at the explicit expense of the middle and lower economic classes.
Correct. If you want to have your wealthy friends get richer, have it happen. Go for it. But if it's affecting the middle class or not helping, or you're only focused on helping them get richer rather than focused on all of us or the majority of America, which is the middle class, getting richer, then that's a problem.
So then you'd be in favor of a flat tax?
No.
Let me pop in here. I thought that he took tax off of Social Security and overtime, and what was the other one? Overtime, Social Security, and tips. So that is directed towards the middle class, I would think. Since the only middle class people worried about whether their Social Security is being taxed would be the middle class.
I have a quick question. Is it possible for the rich and the middle class to increase wealth at the same time? I really don't think so.
It seems like it's not.
No, it's impossible. How can it? The wealth got to come from somewhere, unless the government going to feed both. But other than that,
that's a flawed understanding of economics. You can absolutely have all people increasing in wealth. They would just do it at different rates. So if I'm a millionaire and I'm investing, let's say $100,000 at 5% interest, somebody who's making $10,000 a year, it can only invest $1,000. They're going to have a much smaller amount, but they're still increasing in wealth. So the rate applies differently to people who have different amounts of capital or investment opportunities. So just because the wealthy get wealthier doesn't mean necessarily that it comes at the expense of the middle or lower class.
It has to. Like, where else is it coming from? Same way. Like,
it's coming from the pie getting bigger. It comes from the pie getting bigger.
The pie is getting bigger from where? Like where is this influx of money coming from?
It's this new idea called wealth creation. It's this new development called wealth creation that we just invented like 6 months ago when Trump came in office. Wealth creation was never a thing until Trump came in office, but he invented wealth creation, and so maybe you haven't heard of it yet.
Now who got TVS now? That's TVS right there.
I'm confused by the argument, Hickman. Did you say where is the money coming from?
I mean, if he's saying that the middle class and the rich can both gain wealth at the same time. Like if so, where is the money coming from? The poor? Like where? How is that a thing? Like help me understand.
Okay, so who sets the rates in the country?
The Federal Reserve. Like what are we doing?
Who advises the government to print more money whenever they
Oh, I mean, you can ask somebody. You can ask me 1,000 questions. You can ask.
But you asked where these were coming from. I'm going to tell you. The Federal Reserve determines which classes are going to have access to whatever and how their money is going to be spent. And Congress just borrows and prints money and passes it out amongst the people. There you go. You have your wealth creation.
You just made some shit up. They just made some up, right?
I think you're thinking in terms of the previous economic model before market-based economies. You're thinking of like a feudal economy where if you're a king in one kingdom and I'm a king in an adjacent kingdom, I have X amount of silver and gold, you have X amount of silver and gold. The only way I get richer is by plundering and stealing your portion of wealth and assets. That changed when we moved into a market-based economy where wealth is created when human potential and capacity to produce goods and services are unleashed. So you're thinking that the pie is static and that when someone gains, another person loses. And that's fundamentally hasn't been the case in market-based economies for centuries. So get with the times, man.
What is going on here? Am I being gaslit? Are you really acting like it? Like for centuries, like I don't know. I'm speaking right now.
Well, just this notion that if rich people get richer, then someone has to lose or get poorer is fundamentally wrong. That's a centuries-old idea. That's not the case in market-based economies.
That's been happening. What are you talking about?
Hey, Kiva, do you think that we're all in the same boat if you're an American?
I don't know what kind of question that is. Can you please ask a better question?
Well, it implies that technically we're all in the same house or we're all in the same room at the present moment. But when I say the house, it's like saying a boat, meaning that the golden rule is, treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. You're all on the same cruise. Americans are all on the same cruise ship. And so the point is, if we want everybody to have as much as possible, or I guess you could call it like a utilitarian economic principle or something, freedom, liberty, and optimization, and basically government intervention, government borrowing, government spending is what is ultimately keeping incomes down and standard of livings down. It's the failure to optimize government intervention, government spending. It's $2 trillion over the $5 trillion we collect in annual revenue. That's one of the biggest problems. It's economic intervention on behalf of your government, which is your congressperson and your senator, and the Federal Reserve printing up the money, using all the banks to do it. So I'm just wondering, are we in the same house, on the same boat? I mean,
no, we're not. It's like there's some people in a big fancy house. There's the rest of us, the 90 middle class to the poor that's inside another boat, a less fancy boat, way less fancy boat. So yeah, we're definitely not in the same boat as Americans.
I think maybe he means, are we in the same economic system? Like, are you in a communist system in Detroit and I'm in a capitalist system in New York City, right? We're in America. We're in a market-based economy, regardless of the state, regardless of your skin color, regardless of your age, gender, religion. You're in a system that provides that opportunity to trade value for value with whomever you choose.
That system favors one group over another. Y'all got it. I hope y'all can say that.
So a system that favors one group over another, in your opinion, is a white structural, white supremacist system that favors white people, correct? That's what you are saying.
No, I never said that. I never put on race. I said the 1%. Like, you can tell me who the 1% is, but I never put it to race. I said the rest of us. I said the 99%. I put everybody in one group. I never made this about race. I said the rich is one group. The middle class and the poor is another group. I think every race fits in the middle class and the poor. I don't know why you want to zero it down like I'm talking about white supremacy. I never.
All right, I just wanted to confirm. I hear you. I hear you.
I never said nothing close to that.
I just wanted to confirm what group you were talking about.
I said the 99%. rich and the middle class and the poor, them the two. I said that like 3 minutes ago. I literally said that those are the two groups.
So you think the billionaire class are rigging the system to benefit themselves and continue to skim as much as possible off of the U.S. debt?
Oh yeah, you said it plain and simple. Yeah.
Look, I just want to compliment everyone. I thought that this has been a spirited conversation. We've got about 13 minutes left for this room, and I want to make sure that we have ample time for final thoughts here. So if anyone want to start initiating the final thoughts, try to reserve the last couple of minutes to get, I want to hear Anson's thoughts. Hopefully he's heard some stuff that he's got some commentary on. But any final thoughts over these next few minutes?
Yeah, I have to just go ahead, Brett.
Oh, I was just going to thank, and I think XG should be an attorney. He's an excellent one. That's my final thought for the day, and I appreciated him tackling a lot of issues that I had today. But in terms of this room, again, I think we could bridge the aisle. I think there's a multitude of people and personalities here and belief systems, and I think you can bridge. It's just once you get the Hitler out of the way, then you can start talking about like certain trade policies, certain other aspects, and that's where this conversation should go. But that's what I stated earlier. There's only a few people we can have this conversation. If you had 100 people on stage, this wouldn't go that way. It would literally come down to Trump's racist Hitler, and everybody else who doesn't agree with that is evil.
My final thought is this, and I'm going to make it quick. Hakima, I'm not targeting you at all. You don't have the utmost respect for you. But I just want to say for those listening, Hakima said Trump said that he's going to round up the criminals, the black criminals, and ship them out. And Hakima, I'm not sure why it's a bad thing. These are the people that hurt our community. All right? And I think any family any parent and families that want to live in a thriving, positive, clean, safe community does not want to raise their children in a society full of drug dealers and criminals. So deporting criminals is not, I mean, you say criminals, and I'm talking black people. Black people are not criminals. The black community is not riddled with crime across the U.S. So my final thoughts are, it's just, we have to be careful when we say these things. You know, Trump is going to deport blacks when you actually claim he said Trump is going to get rid of the criminals and the gangs. And I think many upstanding citizens in the black community wouldn't have a problem with that. That's my final thoughts. Thank you.
You know, I have listened to many of these TDS rooms on X Spaces and on Clown House, and it's not just polarization or fascination, like target fascination with Trump. It's the vulgarity, the profanity, the extremism, the anarchy in the communication that I hear, which causes me concern. It's really American derangement syndrome. It's American hate. And I hear it nonstop in other rooms. And you can call it TDS, but that's the politic. It's the insanity of what surrounds the Trump derangement syndrome that you hear in context to Trump. And to me, it's toxic communication. But if you go to John Kitover on Instagram, you can view almost 100 Clown House rooms of TDS, of extreme TDS, as well as international Islamic jihadist terrorist planning. But that's on John Kitover on Instagram. I recorded that because Instagram no longer allows you to live stream unless you have 1,000 followers. So that account was allowing me to live stream. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend this whole week recording as much Clown House as I can, because I know that I will no longer be able to live stream it onto Instagram. And I did. And Instagram, John Kitover, you will be surprised at the insane anti-American derangement syndrome, vulgarity, hate speech, racism, absolute toxicity, and even the comments that I get on my live stream YouTube as I read them. For example, somebody named Pete French wrote that this is a PDF party. You can fill in the blanks. And then he also wrote, Magats F children. So I have heard people like Scotty on this app say that the Magats are trying to kill you every day in every single way. Type speech like that, like extreme derangement syndrome, And to me, it's hate speech and it's toxic, but I'm glad to record it because a lot of these people are not in replay rooms and they want to spew their toxic venom as much as possible in the shadows. But, I am so happy that I have the opportunity through Clubhouse Anonymous to record their extreme hate speech, spaces. I'm John Kitover. That's my opinion. I'm complete.
Felix, we were getting final thoughts since you just joined the room. Would love to get your take, and then we're going to kick it over to Anson to close things up. But Felix, what do you think about the title, the poll, or what you just heard?
I think that the people on Clubhouse are usually sick, diseased, and mentally ill. And so the hatred you hear on Clubhouse does not represent the majority of Americans. Done speaking.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get final thoughts from Anson. Anson, let's close it down here.
I want to begin with an apology to XG. I intervened, asked him to stop cussing, but fuck, we all cuss from time to time, I guess, right? So keep it to a minimum. When I sorted through the bombast, I started to hear some things that lend themselves to great conversation. So, but more to the entire room. Let's stop the name calling, whether it's TDS or whatever it is. If we can get past the name calling, then we can have an experience that I mentioned in the middle of the room, where once we got past the name calling, Hakima and Brad had a legitimate conversation over about universities. So let's get rid of the name calling and get deeper into it and pick a subject, agree that it's a problem, and then debate what the right solutions are. And that's what we're trying to do in this room. And I encourage all of us to continue down that path. Thank you.
That was glorious. Hey, tomorrow I will not be able to participate in this room. I don't know what you guys want to do about that. I'm going to be racing Lamborghinis tomorrow down at the track in Portland. So I will not be able to participate tomorrow. You guys let me know what you want to do.
I will. I figured out how to open the room, so I can do that. I'll go ahead and I'll pick a topic for tomorrow. Well, I think I may have to. I'm not sure I know how to put a topic up there, but I'll work.
Let me know if you need help on that side of the fence. But I'm just letting everyone know I won't be there. But yeah, let's get the topic and keep the thing running. I think the consistency is really important. Getting these rooms going 5 days a week at the same time will get really good faith actors to come in here and have good conversations. And if you have topic ideas, please back channel them to me or to Anson or to Moose, who is Moose here. Moose is not here, but sometimes Moose, when he participates, is also moderated. We want to have a balanced discussion. We want people across the political spectrum to come here and feel welcome to share their thoughts, because the way we're going to improve things is by listening to each other and sharing what's on our mind and being able to pressure test our ideas. So I've got nothing else to add. Anson, have fun tomorrow with the room, and I'll see you again on Friday.